Welcome everybody to the Business Podcast, where we pour out weekly business lessons week after week after week after week. I'm your host, Super Joe Pardo, and this week we are going to talk about how you get out in front of your day. How do you get out in front of your week, your month, and your year? But first, I gotta give some love to our sponsor this week. It's Yode Watches. I'm wearing mine right now. How do I get this in? Probably upside down. If you want to get your wooden watch, go to superjoepardo.com/yode. The link below. So it's been a little while since I've taken the time to do a proper business lesson video. I apologize for that. It's been crazy busy, and I just have not had the time to do it. We've been busy launching 234 Threads. You should go to 234threads.com, and busy doing lots of other things for the TV show, getting things lined up. It's absolutely been crazy. People have been asking me, how do I get out in front of my week? How do I get prepared? How do I stay psyched? How do I stay connected in the moment that's happening in front of me day after day after day? And sometimes it is challenging. It is hard for the people that know me absolutely the best. They know that I have struggled here and there with my ability to stay focused and even though I have so many things going on, keeping it all straight. How I go about getting in front of my day, in front of my week, in front of my month and year is whenever I feel like I'm getting slipped up, like I'm getting too far, like, the ideas are just coming and I'm just gonna start grabbing at them and going. I go back and I write down all of the ideas. I do a complete brain dump, and then I take a look at what I have in front of me to get accomplished and what makes sense. Whatever doesn't make sense gets filtered off into. I use Evernote to keep track of all of my future plans and ideas and things that I would love to be able to create in the future. In the meantime, I take what I can do in front of me and I start to make sure that I create a list of what I'm going to get accomplished in the days, the weeks, the months ahead. And I just constantly am reevaluating, looking over, how can I do this differently? How does this fit with this? Does all this make sense? How do I make sure that it all comes to a point where I'm not losing my mind? I'm not going to feel like I'm driving out of control. I need to feel like I'm in the driver's seat. And sometimes, our minds, our ideas, our visions can get way out of whack there, and they just go crazy wild. So what I want you to do is first start by jotting everything you have in your mind down, so you can bench the stuff for later, park it later, and flush it out later when it makes more sense to get to it. Just because you have all the ideas doesn't necessarily mean you have to act on all of them right here in the moment. Now, I want you to start thinking about how you can schedule time, blocks of time, to fit that stuff in. That's one of the biggest things that I do, is I try to make sure I get as much as I can into block schedules, because then I feel like I'm accomplishing those things, I'm checking things off, I'm feeling like I'm achieving what I'm going for, and I'm not just like wildly buckshotting everything, like as spread a wide net. When you start to look at like, okay, my calendar is starting to fill up with all these different things, look at like, okay, how can I get more out of it? So one of the ways that I try to fit as much as I possibly can in is making sure that I'm scheduling phone calls for my driving time. Sometimes it's nice to be able to get that time to myself, but ultimately I want to try to make I want to try to make it as optimized as possible, so that I'm getting the most for my minute. Alone time. I'm scheduling phone calls with people. I'm meeting all these people. I'm doing my networking when I'm driving to the shop in the morning, or when I'm driving home from the shop. Then what I try to do, if my toddler and my 1-year-old will allow me, is make sure that I'm waking up as early as possible. So I'm trying to get to bed between 9:30, 10 o'clock, sometimes 10:30. I try not to go to 11, because I want to try to wake up as early as I can, so that I have maximum amount of time to get the things done that I need to get done before heading out to the shop. So you want to make sure that if it's 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., sometimes it's 6 a.m. It all depends on what your schedule and what your life allows for. In my case, I'm always shooting for 4 a.m. That's always the target goal. Don't always make it. A lot of times I wake up, it's 5 o'clock, 5:30, sometimes closer to 6 o'clock, and I'm not getting as much accomplished. And then me personally, I feel like I'm falling behind if I'm not doing that. So it's really helpful to do the things that I need to do to focus my energy. And one of those things to help focus my energy is to make sure that I'm working out and I'm running, which I haven't done a whole lot of. If you follow me on Instagram and Facebook or Twitter, you can do that below. I'll link below or in the notes here how to go about doing that. It makes me feel so much better when I do. And I get that time to just myself and focusing on my thoughts and where I want to be and what I want to accomplish and how I'm going to get there and connecting all the dots. It's a form of meditation. So it enables me to really build up for that brain dump. That's what I'm always trying to accomplish. So yeah. That's how I go about getting in front of the week. I want to hear about how you get in front of the week. Either leave a comment in the show notes below on superjoepardo.com or on YouTube or on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever you're watching this. Leave a comment below. I would love to hear how you're doing it and how I can implement your thoughts and how you do things into my way of doing things. This episode has been brought to you by Yode Watches. Go check it out, superjoepardo.com/Yode. It's not spelled how you think. It's JORD instead of YODE. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful week ahead, and hopefully I'll be seeing you next week. I think I have an interview coming up with a pretty interesting guy, so stay tuned for that in the near future.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Business Podcast featuring Super Joe Pardo. Get more business content at superjoepardo.com. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on The Business Podcast, send an email to joe@superjoepardo.com. The Business Podcast is copyrighted to 234 Solutions, LLC.